The Seattle home series kicks off tomorrow in what is set to be the final installment of online Call of Duty in 2021, and that is the most important storyline of them all. But there are some other storylines I am watching heading into the Seattle home series this weekend, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like down below and leave a comment as well with your thoughts on the video. Let me know what you are most excited to watch this weekend at the Seattle Surge home series, and also subscribe to the channel as well if you want to see more videos like this one from me in the future. I think about 50% of my views come from people who are not subscribed to the channel, so if you're enjoying the videos, definitely subscribe, hang out, come back again in the future. That would mean a lot to me. I appreciate all of that, and let's hop right into the video. The first storyline I'm watching very closely this weekend, and I think I'm not alone in saying this, is the downfall and the poor performance of the New York Subliners. So when the Rocker home series ended last weekend, I was already planning ahead for this video, and I was thinking about New York and how they're not playing well and how they have to get it turned around, and I'm definitely watching them. And then the Clayster news was announced, and then how could they not be a team to watch? They're clearly the most important team or the most interesting team to keep an eye on right now because there's so many different variables and circumstances going on. So they will have Diamondcon in there in place of Clayster this week, as we all know by now. That's definitely the thing to watch. How will they replace Clay? When you think about it, this might be controversial, but Clayster's talent, the way he's playing right now, will not be the hardest part to replace. You know, he hasn't been terrible, but he's not been great. And I think Diamondcon certainly has the skills to replace Clayster's performance just strictly on the sticks. However, when you look at what Clay brings to the table in terms of his intangibles, whether it's his leadership or his communication or his positive attitude, whatever else, that is where they might be struggling to replace him. And I think that's the reason why he's gone in the first place. I think those sorts of things, due to his mental health, his whatever else, have been bad right now. So they're getting Diamondcon in there. We'll see how the vibes look, just how the team looks in general. And we don't know how long Clay's going to be out. Could it be for the week? Could it be for the rest of the stage? Could it be through the season? Could it be for his career? We do not know that. It could be a long time. It could be a one-week thing. However, I think it's going to depend how they play. If they play well with Diamondcon in there, there's no reason why, in my mind, they can't keep him in there and see what they do, at least at the major, and then maybe for champs, you get Clay back in there, depending how the team does at the major. But it's certainly not out of the possibility, in my opinion, that we have seen the last of Clayster for the year. I don't think it's likely, but it's certainly possible. And then, of course, the seeding for the major and champs matters too. Right now, they're going to be probably starting in the losers bracket. That's almost a guarantee, especially because they play FaZe this week. So they could fall. They could fall down to the 5 seed for champs. Maybe not a huge deal to them right now. They're more worried just about their team morale and getting going in the right direction at the right time. But for all these reasons, they have 2 matches. They have 2 matches without Clayster in there with Diamondcon instead. So there's a lot to watch with New York this weekend. I'm definitely keeping my eye on them and seeing if they can just find something that will turn things around for them heading into the Stage 5 major. The next thing I'm watching very closely is something I was also watching very closely last week, and that's the battle for the 2 seed between the Toronto Ultra and the Dallas Empire. I think New York has officially fallen out of that race, very fast like we just talked about. But these 2 teams are neck and neck by every sense of the word. 5 points separating these 2 teams right now as we head into the final weekend of Stage 5 and then into the major. And you see this, the Group B standings right now, they are definitely a, whatever you want to call them, a mosh pit, however you want to describe it, very close in Group B. And that's important because, as we know, the 1 seed is very, very important for the major. Not only does that give the team a bye in winner's bracket, but it also puts them towards a better placement, which obviously means more points. And beyond that, we know how important the 2 seed is for champs because that team will get a bye in the winner's bracket versus the 3 seed will obviously be starting against the 6 seed in the first round of the winner's bracket. So there's a lot going on here, and that 1 seed is ever so important in this one. So Toronto plays Florida before this matchup, and Dallas plays Seattle. So you got to figure Dallas will be 3-1 coming in. Toronto probably will be 4-0, but they could lose to Florida, but let's just say they win. So then pretty much the winner of this match would get the 1 seed for the major. Again, super important in terms of not only the 10 points in the standings outright, but also the fact that the higher seed means likely more points at the major, a better placement there, and then getting on the right direction heading into champs. There's a lot on the line right now, and this matchup on Sunday is going to be phenomenal between these 2 teams. I cannot wait to watch it. There's just so much on the line. Again, just the 10 points, they matter a lot because whichever team goes 2-0 this weekend, assuming one of them will, they'll be ahead. They'll be in second place ahead of the other team heading into the major. And then it just comes down to who places better at the major. And of course, if you start the major as the 1 seed, that just makes it ever so much more likely for you to get a better placement and place ahead of the team that you are in the race with. So either way, one of these 2 teams is probably going to be the 2 seed. One's going to be the 3 seed. It would be pretty tough for Optic to jump up in there into the 3 seed. So this matchup between these guys this week and just sort of their performance the rest of the way this season will have so much to do with their placement at champs. And again, maybe it wouldn't be a big deal if it was the 3 seed or the 4 seed, but when it's the 2 seed and there's that first round bye on the line, all these points matter very, very much. And obviously these teams would like to start with a bye in champs. So definitely keeping a close eye on Toronto and Dallas both this weekend, and sort of that race for the 1 seed for the major, and then the race for the 2 seed at champs. It's a very competitive race, and I'm excited to watch that one progress one more time this year. And the last thing you should watch very closely this weekend has to be the battle for the 6th seed, and it's going to come down to the matchup between the Minnesota Rocker and the Florida Mutineers, in my opinion. So if you don't know, the 6th seed will start in the winner's bracket at champs, while the 7th seed will start in the loser's bracket, and that, in my opinion, is a bigger difference than the 2 seed versus the 3 seed, because if you start in that loser's bracket as a 7 seed, you have zero margin for error. You lose one series, you have an off day, you're done, that's it, your season's over. Whereas if you're the 6th seed, it's still not ideal because you're playing a very good team in the first round, but you do have that margin for error. You can have a bad day and still come back and make a run through the loser's bracket. So it's definitely very important, and I think it's going to come down to these two teams. LA Thieves, they are tied with Florida for that 7 seed, but they have not looked the best, and they play Optic this weekend, so that probably means no points for them. So they're going to head into the major as the 8 seed for the season, and they're going to see if they can make a run at the major. But otherwise, I think it's going to come down to these two teams. I think they're definitely better than LA right now, and that's what I think. So when you look at it, these two teams, like I said, they play each other on Saturday. So that is going to be a match that could pretty much determine who ends up being the 6th seed for champs. Not directly, but indirectly, because when you think about it, Florida plays Toronto before the matchup on Saturday with Minnesota. That's probably going to be a loss, no guarantee, but let's just assume they lose. We're going to assume the worst for the situation. They would come into the match with Minnesota 3-1. Minnesota would be 2-2. If Minnesota would win, this would be a double whammy in the sense that they would get 10 points and Florida would get 0, and also that would force a tiebreaker, which could potentially get Minnesota into the winner's bracket as the 3 seed from Group B to start the next major. So again, that's a double whammy in terms of they could get more points now and also put themselves in a position to get more points in the future. Whereas if Florida would win, that would pretty much put them 10 points behind Minnesota. I mean, if they could beat Ultra and Minnesota, they'd be tied with Minnesota, and they'd be the 1 seed in their group. So that'd be huge for them. But assume they lose to Florida or to Toronto, they still can beat Minnesota. They can get their winner's bracket spot for the next major, and they can get 10 points closer to Minnesota in the standings. That would be a big deal for them, because avoiding losers at all costs is the way to go right now. When every point counts, basically, between them and Minnesota, staying in the winner's bracket to start the major is a huge advantage, just to give yourself that extra breathing room like I was talking about earlier. So if they can do that, if they can beat Minnesota, even with that loss to Toronto, they'd still be in a good spot for winners. They'd be 4-1 for their groups. They'd be 10 points behind Minnesota and definitely having more momentum than Minnesota heading into the Stage 5 major, which will ultimately determine who ends up being the 3 seed, or the 6 seed, for champs. So it's going to come down to these two teams, and it's going to come down to the major, because, of course, if you place better, you get more points at the major. That will probably be the determining factor between these two teams. So get themselves in the winner's bracket, get a big win, and then have a better chance to get a better placement at the major. Whichever team it is, both of them have the same chance to do the same thing, and whoever does it most likely will end up starting in the winner's bracket at champs. So it's definitely a big deal for both of these teams, and I'm watching it very closely this weekend. So that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like down below and leave a comment as well with your thoughts on the video and the storylines for this weekend, and subscribe to the channel as well if you want to see more videos like this one from me in the future. I appreciate all of that more than you would ever know. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have a good rest of your day today, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.